Soy un cinecrítico, hemos venido al Hotel Intercontinental de Madrid a entrevistar al escritor sueco Jens Lapidus, autor de Dinero Fácil, novela en la que se basa la película del mismo título.
Many authors choose to not be involved at all. They sell the rights and they say do whatever you feel like, and I leave my hands out of this. Other authors, they want to be really involved. They want to write the manuscript, take part in the screening and in the shooting of the movie and so forth, because they want to have control. I chose kind of a middle way. I said to them, I think I want to be involved and see what you're doing. I think also it could be good for you to get input from me, because I've been thinking about these characters. I've been living with them. I know these guys. So I was involved in the manuscript, not writing it, but taking part of it, the development. We were having meetings, arguments, discussions, but I did not take part in the editing or the shooting of the movie. So I was involved, but not actually involved in the very work of the movie. Well, I think we were discussing the possibility of me writing the manuscript or being involved in that work, but I did not have the time. I wanted to focus on my job and focus on my writing my next book, and I did not have the knowledge really. Well, I guess you could say you did not know how to write novels either before you started writing novels. So I could have done it, but I felt I did not have the time. I think there is a very romanticized picture of Sweden in many European countries. There's a picture of this perfect paradise, welfare state, and I think that picture has not been true for many, many years, and I think actually it has never been true. Having said that, I still think Sweden, comparatively speaking, relative to many other countries in Europe, is a very good place to live. And I think if you come as a tourist to Sweden, you do not have to be scared, you can walk anywhere and so forth. But I describe the underworld of Sweden, I describe the darker side, and there is crime, there is poverty, there are people living in the outskirts, not being part of the system, there is racism, there is prostitution, there is drugs, and I'm interested in exploring that side of Sweden. Yeah, I mean, being a criminal defense lawyer, it's very, very important to me to keep a very clear line between my work as a defense lawyer and my writing. If I would start letting things that I get to know from clients as a defense lawyer sort of go into my writings, I don't think I would last very long as a criminal defense lawyer. I mean, who would like to hire me as their attorney if they knew that within 1 year they will appear in my book? I don't think anyone would like to do that. So I try to be very careful not to disclose any real characters and real stories in my books. Having said that, a lot of the details are real in my books, because apparently I get a lot of, obviously I get a lot of inspiration from real cases. So how people are dressed, how they talk, how they use drugs, how they smuggle drugs, and so forth, etc., etc. It is real, it is from reality. Yes, I'm very happy with the movie. I think they managed to retain very much the feeling of the real, the feeling of the gutter, the streets of Stockholm, an authentic feeling. You see these characters in the movie and you think that you can meet them in the streets, and I think that's the most important thing. Well, actually, I'm a great fan of The Wire. but I saw it after I wrote my book. I did not know about it. I don't think it was shown in Sweden until many years after it was shown in the US. But yes, now when I have been writing my third book, I have been seeing all the seasons of The Wire, and I think it's a great TV series. I think what they dare to do is to tell a real story in the pace that it really takes to tell the whole story. It's a slow pace, you know. They don't rush forward. They tell about every single characters, and we're talking about many characters here, maybe 20 characters you follow. And they give them space, and it develops in a very slow but very trustworthy way. So I think really The Wire, you know, you can't make that kind of TV series in Europe. It's too expensive. It's a fantastic thing. Yeah, I mean, the production company, they said to me, listen, Jens, your book is 500 pages long. I think in Spanish it's like 600 pages long. He said, either we make it for the big screen, then it will not be the book. It will be a movie inspired by the book, and we will have to cut out a lot of things from the book. Or we can make it into a TV series, and we can try to make it as true to the book as possible. It will be maybe 12, 18 installments, because that's what it takes to tell the whole story of your book. And I said, you know, if I can choose, I want to go for the big screen, because you know, it's much cooler. Mm-hmm. So we had this discussion back and forth, and I think they wanted to try to make a real movie out of it. So that's what happened at the end. I think the fact that many of my main characters and many of the criminals in my book are ethnically from other parts of the world is basically mirroring not so much the failure of multiculturalism. I know there's a big discussion going on now among European intelligentsia about this post-multiculturalism era and so forth. For me, you have to look at this in this way. It's a question of class, I think. These guys, their parents, or maybe even themselves, are not born in Sweden. So they're very new. I think integration takes time. I mean, you can't integrate into society in 5, 10 or 20 years. It takes longer. I mean, it takes maybe 50, 100 years, I think. So when you come, you're new, you belong to the underclass. And when you belong to the underclass, you want to have easy money, maybe, at least my characters. And so they try to find their ways, and they do it via crime. So I'm not really so interested in describing ethnic groups. I'm interested in individuals, and to see what is the driving force here. What is it that pushes this person, this individual, into committing crime, and try to get the viewer and the reader into the head of that individual. That is what concerns me. Well, for me, I think this wave of Scandinavian crime fiction is really a blessing and a curse at the same time. Because it's a blessing, it opens up doors, it's a lot of talk going on all over Europe, and for many authors, including me, it's a great success. At the same time, I'm not a part of this wave, really, because my kind of writing is really a reaction against the traditional Scandinavian way of writing. I try to take the traditional way of Scandinavian crime writing and turn it upside down and create something new. And in Sweden and the Scandinavian countries, there's been an enormous response to my books, and people saying, finally, something new. You know, so if in the traditional Scandinavian crime novel you have a murder at the beginning of the book, and then in comes a crime investigator or a private investigator, and then the rest of the book revolves around the solving, you know, the investigation of this murder. I do it in another way. You know, I have the criminals as the main characters. I do not only have murder as the main crime, I have prostitution, drugs, violence, the real crimes of the real street. and so forth. So it's really, yes, I'm happy that it's going well now for the black fiction of the North. On the other hand, you know, I represent something different. Absolutely, I am inspired by American, British crime fiction. I'm not inspired by Scandinavian crime fiction. I try to model my books in the, you know, spirit of James Ellroy, Dennis Lehane, American authors, and I try to make it in a Scandinavian way. Yeah, I am very happy that they are making a second movie. I am not so. I'm less involved this time because I trust them. You know, I now know that they are capable of making a good, fine movie. The American adaptation, I'm not involved in that at all. I don't control it. It's the Swedish production company. But the third thing is my last book in this trilogy. It's out in Scandinavian countries this summer, and the rest of Europe later on in the autumn. And it's really exciting for me because it's really been about wrapping together this trilogy and all the 3 books that I've been writing, all the stories and all the characters coming back into the story. And from my point of view, you can read all of my books as one single book. The graphical novel is a part actually of my Stockholm noir trilogy, so you could call it not a trilogy but the 3.5 oju, something like that. You know, it's a part of it. The same characters are involved in the graphical novel. It's the same universe. What am I going to do next? You know, I handed in my manuscript to the printing press 3 weeks ago. My mind is blank. I am still in the process of deciding what I want to do. I am positive I'm going to write, but I don't know yet. Hello, I'm Jens Lapidus. I am the writer behind the book Easy Money, which the movie Easy Money was based on. I would like to send my greetings to all readers of Cine Critico.